Hello everyone, welcome back to another interesting discussion about the security. So we know iFrame comes with lot of power. Like we see the ads on the page, right? We see many other things which are injected by, you can say, iFrame. Give you facilities and capabilities where you can have a site running and you wanted to open that site in any other application, you can just inject and you can see those sites, you can access those sites, and many of these benefit that we have seen already. Like iframes are widely used. Now, with the wide adoption, there are a lot of security concerns that come into the picture. Example, let's try to see. So we know iframes are something where you have a website where this website can be maybe a.com, and what you're doing, you wanted to access a part of this. Maybe this is some ads, maybe this is another portion basically that we have in a website. This is coming from some ads.com, and the other one, basically this one is coming from b.com, and you wanted to access it and load it. Yes, you can basically do that. Now, what comes as a precaution, what are the things basically which can go wrong in this case? There are many things. Consider example, because we are dealing with different environment, different website, different owner. Now, what if somehow the inner website is able to access the outer website, maybe content, maybe critical information like credentials? What if ads was able to access any information which is written, maybe able to temper the look and feel and the content of the main website, because the ads wanted to take more area, wanted to do some crazy, maybe what if change any damn thing, temper the theme, design, layout, anything of these things could happen. Now, in order to ensure that these things work in isolation, and sometimes consider example, like you have google.com, like you don't want to open a google.com on other website altogether. Why? Then what's the point of having those website? You can do one crazy stuff where you build something like similar kind of website and you provide a search box over here, which is, you have another search box, this is coming from google.com. Now, what you are doing, you are running your own business. You are providing google.com search over here, and you are running your own ads, own website, other kind of thing you are selling. So what you are doing, you are using the server of google.com entire company resources and like earning your own benefit. No, that is something people don't want it to allow, because that's their core business, and they don't want it to basically provide you the capability to leverage google.com basically and access anywhere. Now, how these things basically happens, what are the things that you should consider? We will be talking all of these details in more depth. So let's talk about some of the mitigations and some of the vulnerabilities basically. So I will say few of the vulnerabilities we will list, and we will list down some of the mitigations. So how we can ensure that the website that you have is not basically like accessible to the people whom you don't want. So those kind of thing and other security concerns. The first vulnerability basically I wanted to talk about is click hijacking. So what it meant by, again, so we'll take multiple examples, we'll talk about that. So again, similar case, consider you have a application and you have some details and whatnot, and you are saying you have an option to show more or show detail, but this is something your website. What if you have a hidden website, which is your some bank website, some other application, maybe Facebook kind of thing, which is there in terms of some layering on top of it, which is transparent layering and having a button exactly at the same place on the upper layer. So ultimately, when you're clicking, it seems like you're clicking on my website, but you ended up clicking on maybe Facebook or something, because that was there in some frame, iframe on a different layer, and that was not visible to you. You can think of how much you can say security issues that could come. You may end up doing a lot of stuff which was not supposed to be done. Now, in such cases, people wanted to ensure, oh, shall I allow my website to be even visible in the website, even in the iframe? What kind of issues probably that can create? So one is this. Now, what are the other things that can happen? There can be data theft also. So what are those data theft basically, or you can say via JavaScript? Someone can access something on your DOM that is there in the main window, which is you are in an iframe, and I am able to access something which is in a parent window, or I am in a parent window, I am able to access something which is in the child window. Those kind of data, what kind of data you can see, what kind of data you can transition, all of these things has to be taken very carefully. Similarly, what about your session and cookie theft? So what if I am able to access the credentials, your authorization token, anything that you have in cookie in either the ways, like from the child to parent or parent to the child, then that is something which is on a very serious concern and that has to be taken care of. Now, let's see, we will actually have create some iframes, some parent iframe, some child iframe, and from there we will try to reproduce this click hijacking, how data theft could happen, what are the session and cookie theft basically we are talking about, and from there we will also talk about these mitigation steps also. So with that, let's try to set up a small server. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create again, we will take a package.json. We have already seen in our previous like application how to basically set up a small express.js application. So what I'm doing, I'm creating package.json where all our dependency will be. So I'm getting all of those dependencies over here. So along with that, you have nodemon, you have express. These are things that we need. I want two servers, two server commands. So I need server 1 and server 2 folder where I can have one child window and which is iframe website and the main website. So we are going to have two. So let's create those. So I will have something called server 1 and I will have something called again server 2. So we have two server basically in which we are going to write the code. So first server is the parent window and second server is the child window basically we can say. So in the parent window basically, let me introduce some of the concept over here. What we want, we are going to have index.js, which is the root basically where we are going to have all our logic. We have a bare minimum express server. What we are trying to do over here, let's see. So in this, let's focus. So we have basic app, which is going to run on 5010. Over here, I'm going to help you with two HTML pages, two examples, and we'll try to dive into that. So what are those examples? So this is what we are going to have. So I will just simply have two files to be available on two different routes. So one is example1 and second is example2. What we need in public folder, we will be creating example1 and example2 folder, and from there we will be serving. So let me create it. I will create a public folder. From here, I will have two files. We'll talk about one example at a time. We have example1 and we have example2. So these are two main applications that we are already in our configuration. So this is going to serve the static bundle. So this says that, okay, I can access anything in the public folder. And this says that, okay, serve this particular file that we are going to serve. This is example1 and example2. These are two examples that we are going to take. Now, let's talk about the client also. So in client, basically, I will say I have one, which is iFrame, I can say website 1.html. And okay, so I will create this in public folder. So you have public folder, move these iframes over here. And similarly, I will have another website, which is called website 2. These are two frames. Now we will create one index root file where we have the logic index.js. Similar to the previous one, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to say, please render these two iframes in the respective route. That's all. So in the respective route, that is what we are going to mention over here. Now, what we have route 1, which says that if someone try to access iframe website 1, please render that. And if someone, what we have to render the first application, and this is the second application, two HTML pages we are going to render. Now with that, let's start our server. So we'll go into server 1, do a npm. I could have done install dependencies outside itself. So first install the dependencies. So what it says, in iframe protection, I have a package.json which is defined. Iframe protection, let's quickly verify. We have package.json defined in iframe protection. So let's see what's the problem. npm I. Oh, there is some JSON pass. Let's quickly see. Did I do any? Okay, so let's ensure that these are saved. Now what I have to do, just do npm I. We'll install the dependencies. We'll go to each server one at a time. So I have server 1, and in this server, what we are going to do, run npm run, or probably from the root itself, I have written a command which is how to run server 1 and server 2. I can go to the root and run that. So I can simply say npm run server 1, because this is how our server 1 will run and this is how our server 2 will run. So I've executed this. Similarly, I will run the other one, which is npm run server 2. So we have two servers basically running. Now we have to see. We will create those examples. What is how my first screen is going to parent screen is going to look like, how my child screen is going to look like, and from there we'll take some cool examples. Now in this particular case, what I'm going to have, I will create a first first window in this particular case. Let's see what we wanted to have. So I wanted to have a simple, you can say iframing website, which is the top rooted website. This is what we want. What it contains a simple, you can say a very simple application. This is how what we have. So let's open and see how this looks like. So I'm going to open our local host. Port is 5010, I think, on which we have opened this. Let's see, this is 5010. In 5010 port, I'm going to open example 1. So this is our first root website, the main application basically that we have. This is the parent window. And inside this, we are going to inject some child window. We'll see how this click hijacking could happen. So we are going to talk about how this click hijacking basically can happen. So consider example, we have our parent window. Inside our parent window, we have an option called click me. Now, what we want using click me, I wanted to show this button is clicked and whatnot. What if I am clicking on this? I'm not able to actually click me. I'm clicking something else. Maybe clicking on create post in Facebook, clicking on some bank statement, or clicking on some bank account transaction button. But how that could happen? Think about in the same window, if I have some iframe which is on top of it, which is transparent, which is not visible to me, not visible to me. Under the hood, what I have, there is a button which is aligned exactly at this place where I move the iframe such that the button of that particular website actually comes on top of it. And when I click on that, it seems like I'm going to click on my website, but I will end up clicking on the iFrame website, which is your vulnerable activity that we are doing. So that is the click hijacking. You clicked on something, but it was hijacked by some other activity. How we can do it? Let's try to see that. We'll create our another server 1. We have public, we have iFrame website. So let's have a very basic iFrame website where we will have a bare minimum thing. So what I'm saying, this is my child iframe. That is what I have. And I have some content over here. I have a button. And in this button, I'm saying clicked iframe button. So that is what we are going to do. Let's see how this website look like. First of all, let me open localhost. This website is available on 5011 and I can say iframe website 1. Okay, let's quickly verify if everything is correct. We'll go into index.js. We'll look for what is the path. It is iframe website 1. Okay, so this is my iframe website, which is my bank website. It can be any website where I wanted to do the suspicious activity. I want something to be performed over here. And this is my main website. This is my iframe. This is my main. Now I wanted to put this website inside over here. I can do that. So what I'm going to do, simply I will go to my main website, which is my example 1. And over here, let's inject this particular example using iframe. So I will simply say I have a iframe where my source is basically http localhost. Maybe I have copied that. I can borrow that. Localhost / iframe website. Awesome. This is how this is going to look like. Now let's go back and try to see how this application looks. Okay, so it says that connection refused to connect. Why so? We can verify what happened to this. So we have http localhost src frame website. This is perfectly fine. I think this route is correct. Oh, so this is localhost 5011. Perfect. So in this 5011, what we had over here, try to identify. I'm loading an application which is on different domain altogether. Like this is 5011, which can be any child website, as I said, SDFC bank and whatnot. Reload. we are able to see, boss, we have a iframe and this iframe basically says that click me, which is perfectly fine. What's the problem? The problem is not this. I will come to the main problem in case of click hijacking. What if this website altogether is not visible to me? What if this pay now button basically comes over the click me functionality? What if I'm actually clicking on, instead of doing a click me, which is button click, I'm actually clicked iframe button, but I'm not able to identify, oh, I did something wrong. How this can be done? Consider example, I add an identifier in such case where I say ID is equal to anything, which is legit iframe, some basically ID I have, and I play with some CSS, example, I'm going to put some style to it, and in style let's put some basic properties. Example, I will make some different opacity, I will play with the positioning. So what I'm doing, I'm making a opacity, I'm playing with the position, I'm making it top left, providing some width, z index kind of thing, so that it comes in the different layer altogether. Let's see how this is going to look like. Did you notice? I'm going to first make it opacity 1 and maybe have a background color as CCC so that you can see this well. So if you see at this moment, guys, I have a iframe which is on the top. This iframe is something which is on the top, which is right now visible to you. So if I go over here, this is the iframe that is injected on the top. Now it has something called, all of these things that you see is in the new layer altogether. If I reduce the opacity, which is make it 0.5, do you see the main website is below and the one which I wanted to do some suspicious activity is on the top. If I make it 2, if I make it 0.1, you see right now you can see there is a button which is coming on the top, you can see that. What if I make it 0 altogether? The website is not visible. The one which I said, oh, this is a suspicious website which I wanted to do the activity as any of these websites, let me try to click. It seems like I'm clicking button clicked, which is my button. But let's click on this and see what happens. When I click on this, it is a button which got clicked off the iframe. What it meant by, you did a suspicious activity and you didn't realize that you clicked on the iframe website instead of the main website because that website is not visible altogether. So that is one problem that we saw. So we'll talk about, consider this is one. This is one activity, which is again, we did a click hijacking where you were not able or we were not able to identify, oh, I'm doing some activity on some different website altogether. Now, there are similar kind of thing where some data theft can happen. So what kind of this data theft probably can happen? Let's take another example in such particular case. So what I'm going to basically create, I am going to create another website, which is my example. Again, I'm going to inject a application in this particular case. We'll take that example. So we'll have iframe. So I'm just injecting iframe 2 website over here. So I have some cookies which are set in my application, which is my main website has some cookie setting logic, and it has something called iframe which I'm injecting from the parent. Now let's try to see what we are going to do. Let's create the iframe website 2. iframe website 2 is this website. Now problem happens. I will showcase how this is going to look like first. So this is example 2. So in this example 2, if you notice what happened, there are two things. This is my main website and this is some malicious website, which is the iframe basically, which is injected. Ideally, I injected some iframe. Initially, I trusted the person is correct, the website owner is something correct, and I wanted to use some activity. But over the period of time, I realized the iframe which I injected started actually receiving or retrieving the information from my main website. How this can be done? Let's try to see. Modern browser have done some safeguarding regarding that, so that we do not able to access or leak some information from child to the parent in such cases, but still they are old version which still allows that. What it does, what it meant by, what I'm doing, try to see. This is my malicious website, which is my iframe basically, which I have injected. I'm trying to write this script, which is first just to check if the script is getting executed, which is saying, hi alert, please execute this script. On window load, I'm trying to get the object of my parent window. So window.parent will give me the access to the parent window, which is the place where I've injected my website. Using that, I'm accessing the document. Using that document, I am accessing the inner HTML. And then if I have the inner HTML, I can steal it. I can send the API call. I can do anything because I'm able to access that document of the parent window. Now, browsers are also smart. Now, modern days technologies, modern days website, modern browsers are very much strong in such case. What they started doing by default, if you try to see, if I try to access this, it gave me alert. I can execute JavaScript inside. That is no problem. But it started actually providing you something which is by default cross origin access of the document is something which is not allowed. So you cannot access document from the window object if you are in a different cross origin frame. Modern browsers are doing, but the same code if was written in the old application, in the old browsers, basically you will see these kind of accesses from the parent window to access the document to steal the information was still possible. Now this could be not just document. What if I was stealing the cookie? This was something which was also possible in the older browser, but nowadays modern browser does not allow that. But it doesn't mean you should ignore that. You should ensure that such code, if in case written, has to be taken care of. How do you ban such thing to be happening? When you have trusted some ad or some iframe which you are injecting should not steal the information from the main website. That is something you have to ensure at your highest priority. These are some issues basically we talked about. So we talked about, okay, I can do click hijacking. I can actually steal the data using document and whatnot. I can steal the session and cookie also because I have access to the parent window object. Especially in the old browser, you get it. Now, what are the mitigations for such thing? Like how I can safeguard such thing. So for the first thing I wanted to tell, there is something called, in order to safeguard this, you have some headers which can help you to safeguard. What kind of headers basically we have? Let's quickly see some of the headers basically that can be done. One, if you are the website owner, in this case, example, I am a website owner in this case, which is my example 2. Okay, so I am owner. So high executed and whatnot executed. I am the owner of this iframe. I don't want this iframe to be injected anywhere. Like, what if I was the owner of google.com? So I will just create a third example. In this case, example 3.html, and we'll copy this code. We'll put in the iframe. Instead of doing all of these things, I just wanted to render a iframe which is google.com. So this is google.com. Consider google.co.in. I'm just rendering the website which is render Google in iframe. That is what we are trying to do. Are we able to do that? First of all, let's quickly see. So if I go to example 3, oh, I haven't created the route probably. We'll create a quick route so that we can access example 3 also. So we have example 3, which is going to be accessed from example 3.html. Awesome. So we have example 3. We have main website where we are trying to inject google.co.in inside the iframe. What it says, boss, you cannot access it because of the cross origin opener policy, which is basically set, which says that this website cannot be accessed from a different place altogether. You cannot load in the untrusted one. It got refused because there are some header which is set to xframe option, which is same origin. So there are two ways to handle this. Xframe option is the old way of handling this. There are two headers that can be set. Let me quickly write that out. First is, your header is xframe options that we saw, which Google is basically setting. So if we go over here, we see xframe option is something which is set by the Google, and that helps you to ensure that your data is not basically accessed, or the website cannot be iframe. That is one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is similar header, which says that you have something called frame ancestors. Now you can configure it saying that I wanted to have this frame as in self and whatnot, And what we are doing inside this, it is actually my CSP header. I can set some CSP header, which is frame ancestors kind of stuff that can be done. Similarly, we talked about it can be, I think, no frame kind of thing. So you have X frame options. Let's quickly see what are the options that we have. So if I go to X frame option, I will see there are X frame option which says that you have deny or the same origin. You can decide you don't want to be get framed, or you wanted to basically provide in the same origin kind of thing. Like if you are accessing from the same domain, you can. If you are accessing from some different domain, you cannot provide the iframe. So those kind of checks basically can be done. So let's try to do in our case where we have example one, we are trying to access, which is iframe website one. Can I allow my website to be iframe? So I will go maybe take an example anywhere. In this, we were trying to access the website inside and we were trying to steal. Let's see that I don't want it to do that. So I will go over here. I don't want any of these to be iframe. So I can simply go and set some header, which is app.use. And I wanted to add a middleware, which is going to set some header, CSP header, which is request, response, and basically we have something called next. In this case, if you notice what I'm saying, response dot set headers, and what header we should set? CSP header. And how do we set it? Content security policy. And what is the policy, guys, we wanted to set? Anyone in the house? The policy is again the simple one, which I'm saying frame, please do frame ancestors, and I'm going to probably say please make it self. Okay, I can say in this fashion also, make it self. Okay, let's see if this works. So we are playing, I'm saying I will try to access website 2 and from there we'll try to see if that works. Go to website 2 and try to access it. So what does it say? It is not loading it, but somehow it should give me the error in the console also. So that saying that you cannot access the iframe over here. Let's see what happened. So I have an iframe which I have website 2. I have some header which is configured. We'll quickly see frame ancestor also. We have frame ancestor CSP header. Let's see if we have configured it correctly. So we have frame ancestor. Inside frame ancestor, if you see, it says that you can decide any of the embedding that happen in your application, you can leverage it. So you can set similar to the directive none. In case of the X frame option, you can configure it. And I can say X frame. Let's see what are the options that we have. I can provide the website I wanted to frame. I wanted to provide something called self. I can say none. Probably let's try to set none and let's see. So I'm saying I don't want it to get it frame all together. Ancestors. This is the ancestors. This is the header basically that we have. Let's see that. Go back. Reload, come to the console. Okay, we'll see. Reload. Okay, it's taking a bit time. Why? It's loading something, seems like. Okay, so it is taking time for something to load. What is that something? Oh, it's taking time to load this iframe website too somehow. We'll figure it out. iframe website 2. Let's quickly see if there is some syntactical error inside this. This is frame ancestors. We are setting it to none kind of header. And if we see what we got, okay, this says, oh, I think I missed one thing, which is passing next. So I did not return this so that it goes to the next flow, which is important, guys. The small things matters a lot. Now, if you see, we got the same error, which says that, boss, you are trying to access a different domain, which is my child domain. I wanted to protect, like consider this was my google.com and I wanted to protect. How did we protect it? Saying that you can set up, we have set up policy, which is called frame ancestor. And we say that please do not allow this injecting anywhere. So you cannot inject your application into any as an iframe in any other application. So that is not feasible. So that is how you can configure using frame ancestor. Similarly, the old option that we were having, which was called X frame option probably. Now with that, the story doesn't end. So there are other things that we have to take care of, like we were talking about click hijacking, which probably could happen. Click hijacking is okay. We talked about data theft probably can happen. So in case of data theft, what if someone is able to access something, able is to execute some JavaScript in the iframe? We wanted to avoid that. I don't want any of the JavaScript even to be executed in my iframe. So consider example, I wanted to allow these websites. I don't wanted to restrict my website to be open, maybe like ads we have, but inside ads I don't want any JavaScript to be executed. I want only plain HTML to come and people should be able to see that bare minimum things, right? I don't want JavaScript to be executed. What you can do, you can do something interesting over here. Example, I have a website which is second website. I have a malicious website which I am injecting, and where I'm executing some code saying that window high alert and whatnot. In the second code, what I'm going to do, the iframe which I injected, I'm going to inject using sandbox. So inside sandbox, I'm going to say allow same origin, and I'm not allowing any other thing. So there are many things. We will talk about this sandbox parameter. I'm sandboxing my iframe. So from a parent, deciding what all can be done in the child. Can a child execute the script? Can a child actually access multiple stuff? Can a child open a model? All of these things can be taken care from the parent. Now let's try to see this example 2 again. So in this particular case, okay, so this is example 2. We actually disabled the iframe. Okay, that was done. Okay, if you notice, there was an alert that I have written. If you notice, we have written an alert. We have iframe 2, we have an alert. Ideally, this alert should be executed. But is there any alert which got executed over here? No. Because if you notice, it says that the script execution in the URL is restricted because of the allow script parameter is missing. Unless you explicitly say, please allow execution of the script in the iframe, it is not going to execute. What it meant by, let's see that. I will go to my application where I have injected the sandbox. Inside the sandbox, if I give this parameter which is allow script, now come back, reload the application. Okay, so there is one more which is allow model in order to see this high alert kind of thing probably. So let me allow those model also. Now let's see. If you now reload, you see a high will come. Unless from the parent you are giving those permissions, it is not basically going to work. So you see, you have added a iframe, you have a sandboxing, and in sandboxing you are deciding what can be done. So let's quickly see what are options basically we have in sandbox. So if you go to the website, you will see in MDM there are things that you can basically do. You can allow full screen. You wanted to allow like credentials, CSP, height width to be configured, loading thing to be attribute to be configured. You can have multiple of these. But now the interesting thing is, even there are we are talking about sandbox. Let's talk about the sandbox. Do you wanted to allow form related event listener to be executed? Like, can someone have forms executed inside that? Can someone create models like alert kind of thing, right? You can take control of all the things, like you wanted to load from same origin, you wanted to allow script or not. N number of things can be taken care of from sitting at a parent. You are deciding what your child iframe can do. You don't want some suspicious activity to be done, please do not allow. You can just sandbox. And this is something which is very powerful capability which came in the iframes basically. So what I meant by, you have something called sandbox iframe. So once you sandbox iframe, you get those capabilities to the next level. Now there are other things also. As we talked about, there are always chances where, what if your parent try to steal something from the child, right? There can be such thing probably can happen. How you can ensure that such thing never ever happen? You can have a small code snippet in your code in your child window, or you can say the website that you own. Example, I own this website. I can add a very simple thing, example, which is this, which says that if my top and my self, which is window.top and window.self, is not basically same, please make my top location to my self location, so that someone is not able to inject or access the things from my parent to the child window. Although nowadays in modern browser, this doesn't happen, but in older browser, it can still happen. Nowadays, browser says that if you wanted to have cross communication between the iframe and the main, use post messaging kind of thing or content messaging kind of thing. But this is something which is can help you to save in lot of severe cases basically. Now, there are a few more things which I wanted to highlight. Whenever you set cookies, any of the cookie that you set, which you don't want it to have any theft. So how you can set those cookies is example, in this case, I'm setting some headers. Along with that, you can actually set some cookies wherever you want, whichever cookie, wherever you are sending, such that you have these three things enabled. What is that? One is HTTP only, secure and same site. What these does? Let's quickly talk about these things also. So you have three parameters. One says HTTP only, second says secure, and third is same strict. What it meant by? You can access things only on the server. You cannot access things on using JavaScript. You can't use document.cookie in order to access this cookie if being set as an HTTP only. Secure means you can access, the cookie will be sent to the client if it is the HTTPS. If your application is accessed via HTTP, the cookie is not going to be sent. Same site, which is if there is a applications navigating from one place to the other place or some API call going to some other different domain, your cookies are not going to be travel. Like when you say with credentials on the client, your cookies are not going to be travel if you have given some restrictions. So what I meant by, if you use follow these things, basically this is for your cookie. If you follow these things, basically this will at least try to safeguard you from such thing from happening. And you notice these are very, very powerful. You go to any application, like I will take you to maybe LinkedIn, and I will show you the importance of these headers. As a matter of fact, you see there is a cookie. There are many things that you see which are set as an HTTP only. So many of these cookies are set as an HTTP only. Most of these are basically set as an secure. You don't want it to basically send any of these cookie on the HTTP non-secure network, right? So similarly, you have same site where you can say, I wanted to access it across the different site, these cookies, or I wanted to be ensured that I am on the same site. So those kind of same site configuration basically can be set. So you wanted to allow, you wanted to restrict it, whatever you wanted to do, you can do crazy stuff. I hope you saw some of the out of box things probably which you might have not thought. Oh, this could basically bring issues in your application where people can steal, people can get into, can do many such crazy stuff. So what I meant by, whenever you're building your application, just don't think about building the features, right? Getting things out of your plate because you have some Jira ticket with you. What I meant by, please go and think about, are you doing justice in terms of the security? If not, you may be building something and someone else may be stealing and earning on behalf of you. With that, signing off. See you in the next episode.